Hello, drawing one. We are moving on to pencils, and everyone should have gotten some pencils that I have available. They're the turquoise little pretty looking pencils, and we're going to talk about today the differences of values and how each of these are pencils. So on the bottom of your pencils there should be a letter and a number, and I don't know if you guys can see that. So this pencil says HB. This one says 6B. You should also have a 2H, a 4B pencil. Yeah, we can't really see that, can we? And this one is a 2B pencil. All right, I'm going to flip this paper on its back just for a minute to talk about a couple of things. Your pencils, these numbers represent pencil hardness. The H on the pencil stands for hard. The B on a pencil stands for black. And if you happen to have an F pencil, that stands for fine point. And I'm going to take my 2H, 2H pencil. I'm just going to kind of scribble it. Even if I take my finger and feel the side of the pencil, how does it feel? Now if I take my 6B pencil and I do the same thing, if I feel it with my finger, it feels a lot different than this pencil right over here. Now if I scribble, okay, what are you guys noticing that's different about those two pencils? First of all, I can get the 6B pencil a lot darker, a lot faster than I can my 2H pencil. And the lead is a lot softer than the 2H. So like a spectrum of anything, pencils also have a spectrum. So your HB pencil, that's like your average everyday pencil. Like this yellow pencil I have over here, it says HB on it, your number 2 pencil. Okay, so this is your average. If I go this way, my pencil hardness will get harder and lighter. So like my 2H pencil. And if we had a 4H pencil, a 4H pencil will go be here all the way to 9H. Now, I also have a 2B pencil. So if I go this way from the average, the pencil will get softer and darker. So 2B, you also have a 4B. 6B is the darkest pencil that I gave you guys, and it can all go down to 9B if you want it to. So that's explaining how each of these pencils are a little bit different. All right, so your assignment. We've got these lovely value squares. And the first square is left white, so you don't have to do anything with that. But I'm going to go to the next value down. So this is a very light value. What pencil do you want to use if you're using a light value? Go back over here. The answer should be like a 2H is probably what I would use. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start shading this, going back and forth. Now I want to talk about shading. I don't want to see gaps, if you guys can see those gaps in the pencil lead. You want to change directions when you're shading with your pencils. This is just one kind of technique to do that, and I'll explain what I mean by that. If I were to take a microscope and zoom up really, really close onto my piece of paper, paper is not completely flat. It's going to look something like this. There's going to be some tooth to that paper. If I were to take a pencil and I run it across this direction on here, a little bit of graphite is going to get stuck into the tooth of the paper. Now if I run the pencil again another direction, more graphite is going to get stuck into that tooth of paper. And the more and more I do that, the more graphite will get stuck in the tooth of the paper, and the more smoother your values are going to be. So one way you can do that is change your direction. So back to this 2H pencil that I was working with, I shaded in diagonally this way, I shaded vertically this way. Just lost one of my pencils. Maybe I'll shade another this direction. But as you can see, the more times I change my directions, the more smoother my shading is going to be. So there's a couple of things I'm looking for when I'm grading these, and that is smooth shading. You're learning how to shade smoothly. Now, if I get this too dark, if it's a lot darker than what I'm seeing up here, what I can do is take my kneaded eraser. If I remember where I placed it, here it is. Okay. So here's my kneaded eraser. I can just tap it, get it to the value that I'm trying to get it. Okay, the other thing I'm looking for besides smooth shading is value relationships. Don't think of it as light gray, darker gray, darker gray. But as I move on to this next value, what I need to think to myself is how much darker is this value to this value? How much lighter is this value to that value, or this value to that value? And one way to look at is just where the edge is here between these two values. How dark is that? So I'm going to focus on the relationship with this value to that value. How much darker do I need to be? Just trying to get to that edge. I'm going to practice changing my directions. So I shaded vertically. Now I'm going to shade horizontally, maybe diagonally, until I get to the value that I'm looking for. I'm getting to the smoothness of the pencil shading that I'm looking for. Sometimes it helps me to squint my eyes when I compare this to this here. You know, I probably could get this one just a tad darker if I wanted to. Okay, and just keep on going down the line. Maybe I'll jump down to this value down here. So I'm going to change pencils. Right now I'm using my 2H pencil. Maybe I can use like my 4B pencil to do this one. Something that's a little bit darker, a little bit softer, make it go a little bit faster. Sometimes these lighter values are a little bit harder. Something that helps me is if I'm doing a really light value like this over here, I hold my pencil way back here so I have less pressure. If I'm trying to get a dark value like this, I can like push as hard as I can using my pencil to get it that dark. But right now I'm working on smooth shading, I'm changing my directions, and I'm slowly building the value to how dark it needs to be. And I'm slowly getting there. It's still pretty light compared to this. But I'm going to keep at it. Keep going. So this is your first little shading exercise with the pencils. Usually it takes students an hour, maybe even less than an hour to get this done. So this is not a bad assignment. It's pretty easy peasy. But you still got to think. Still thinking about how dark my values are. Am I getting smooth shading, etc. So I'm starting to get close. Looking at these relationships. And I probably will stop there. But just keep on going till, you know, you get to the darkest value. I'd be using my 6B pencil to be getting this one right over here. All right, have fun.